Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the German BF 109 G-14 sitting at 5.3 battle rating in realistic battle. The 109s are always a joy to fly, fantastic energy fighters and also capable of some good boom and zooming. This plane is no exception to that and is quite nice in the WEP department actually. The maximum speed in this plane at sea level without WEP is 503 kilometers an hour, and with WEP 561. At 4500 meters this is 469 without WEP and 523 with WEP, and finally at 6500 meters still go up to 447 without WEP and 472 with WEP. Now there's a big difference already at 6500 meters. It really slacks off there while it's way above 50 kilometers an hour difference with WEP and without WEP. Below 4500 meters, then at 6500 meters only 25 kilometers an hour difference is left, although that is pretty good compared to some planes, let's say. But this plane is significantly faster than the G2 and the G2 Trop sitting at 4.3, but only with WEP. Without WEP it's actually slightly slower, below 4500 meters. Top speed in a dive with this plane is 751 kilometers an hour before it redlines and 830 before she rips apart. Now that's quite nice, really suits an energy fighter, and you can do some good boom and zooming with it as well, although some of the opposition on the American line at this battle rating is much faster in a dive than this plane. There is that, but I guess you have to deal with it. The control stiffening of this plane starts at 500 kilometers an hour and becomes more severe at 650. At 700 you really want to start getting out of a dive. The roll rate especially is effective there. You can still pull out of a dive, but if you have to roll too while the ground is rushing at you, then you've got a little bit of a problem. So make sure that you do start rolling out at 650 and that you are out at 700 so that you can use the elevator to pull out of that dive. The stall speed in this plane is 165, which is about average. Firepower in the plane is good to excellent depending on whether or not you take the gun pods. Of course, the armament in this plane is, like I said, standard with one 20mm MG 151 with 200 rounds and two 13mm MG 131s with 300 rounds per gun. I use stealth for these matches, but this standard armament is quite good. It's centralized firepower, and the MG 151 is one of the better 20mm in the game, and I really like it. But when you put on the gun pods you get two extra 20mm MG 151s, making your total 3, and these two extras have 135 rounds per gun and are a fantastic addition if you want to go gung-ho and a little bit more flight style like a Focke-Wulf. Although the flight model has now been adjusted and the gun pods take off less performance than they used to do, but they still do take off some performance, and I still prefer to fly it without the gun pods. Although, like I said on my G2 Trop video, I did use gun pods and we did quite well there as well, so it is definitely a choice and a preference. You can also put one 250 kilogram bomb on this plane if you want, but I don't know why you would want to do that. Don't do that. The ammo load in the plane is great, I can't say otherwise. Fantastic. The acceleration in the plane in a straight line is decent to good. In a dive it's very good. The energy retention is great both in the horizontal and in the vertical, and that vertical great energy retention is supported by excellent climb rate. Especially with WEP, this thing goes up like a rocket. Fantastic. The turn time though is only decent to good, decent without flaps and good with flaps. The flaps only rip off at 500 kilometers an hour, which make them quite useful in a turn fight, and you know, above 350 this plane becomes quite nice in the maneuverability. The roll rate is decent, and again below 300 meters, below 300 kilometers an hour you definitely become very sluggish. This plane becomes very sluggish when it's slow, and you definitely want to keep it fast. That is also where it has its best maneuverability. So somewhere between 550 and between 350 and 550 is the perfect spot for this plane in maneuverability, and with the flaps you can definitely surprise some dedicated turn fighters now and then. The overall maneuverability is decent to good, and like I said, the use of that maneuverability, you must only do that in the utmost need. In the most terrible situations you can do this and try this, but usually you just want to energy fight and boom and zoom in this plane and make use of its fantastic performance in the vertical. Overheating in this plane is present with WEP. It does turn up there pretty quickly, but it also cools off easily, so if you pay attention to the overheating you can easily manage it. Shouldn't be much of a problem, except in extended repeated dogfights. Then you might run into problems, but other than that I wouldn't call the overheating a problem on this plane. The durability in the plane is good. It can take a hit or two, and nice flight model. You can even make it home with a little bit of damage. That's no problem at all. So like I said, you want to go into the energy fighting role and you want to climb with this plane, get altitude, and from altitude start. You know, you might start with boom and zooming. This plane can actually do that, although there's a lot of opposition that is faster in a dive than this plane. But if you do get the altitude, and which is very possible with the excellent climb rate on this plane, you are in a superb position to make use of the qualities of this plane. So no turn fighting in the horizontal, but you know, take the planes in the vertical. Vertical loops with flaps is the way to go in this plane. Stall maneuvers are very good, where you try to pull people up, make them stall out and then fall on them and rip them apart. That is usually the best playstyle in a 109 and can net you some fantastic results, even in up tiers. You know, this plane can perform against the opposition, although you definitely don't want to play the all-rounder there and try to turn fight a Spitfire. That is never something you want to do. Spitfires are also good energy fighters, and you definitely have to be aware. At this battle rating there's a lot of dangerous Spitfires, but in the vertical this plane almost never disappoints you. Here we go, come on baby, yes, and we get another kill. We kill a Roman Emperor. That's always nice. Anyway, we did get a landing in still on this last match. There were a couple of guys left at the other end of the map. Unfortunately, I did not get back in time. Did manage to get my propeller, but there's enough allies of mine still on the field in this match to get the job done. But I really like the 109s, and the G-14 definitely isn't an exception. We get 3 kills in this second match with the first place in the team. This is the scoreboard of that first match. We got 4 kills in the thing with that fantastic decal. Finally won. We've got Terror of the Sky and Bulletproof. Almost 80,000 Silver Lions and 12,000 research points. Gotta love those new rewards. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now that power in the WEP in this plane is absolutely fantastic. At sea level, and that runs up to about 2000 meters, you have almost 60 kilometers extra when you use WEP. A lot of engine power. When it comes to horsepower, the difference is about 500 horsepower with WEP. Absolutely amazing difference, and a lot of difference with the G2s. This plane is very nice in the vertical and an absolute killer there. Again, you can either use pods or without pods. That is really up to preference now. In the past it used to gimp your flight performance so much, your flight model, that you didn't want to use the pods if you wanted to have any chance and stay an energy fighter. But these days, with the effect the pods now have, you can actually choose whatever has your preference. A little bit more firepower or a little bit more performance. I usually want the performance, but on the G2 drop I tried the pods, and yeah, no, they work very nice as well. I have to say, 3 20mm MG 151s are not something to sniff at. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.